Yes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good evening, new listeners and current listeners from all around the world, including the USA, areas of Long Island, and the regional locations of the five boroughs of Brooklyn, the Bronx, Manhattan, Staten Island, and Queens. This is your host with the most, G Money Stacks, aka Lonely Nomad, aka The Gregonator, aka Rookie Podcaster of New York, and you are now listening and tuning into Off the Meatrack Chainz New York Podcast, episode 35. How about that? How about an applause? If you're new to the channel and you are a new listener and you missed any previous episodes, don't worry, I got you. All you got to do is your part by subscribing to my YouTube channel, which is G Money Stacks 555. Click alerts so you could be notified on when the show goes on the air live. More video content, upcoming episodes, previous recorded episodes. Leave a like, comment on the episodes with the topics that we discussed, and alongside with the streaming platforms, don't forget to share the podcast with your friends, which I will go over the audio streaming platforms of where you can listen to at the end of the show. Um, um, Also, I do want to say this. If you would like to be a guest on the show, whether you are a black owned trendsetter that has a business, or your personality, singer, rapper, VJ, DJ, and other career fields, and also if you need advice and you want to send a chain letter, that way we could read it on the air so you could get the recognition that you deserve. All you gotta do is subscribe to. Excuse me. All you have to do is email us at offthemeatratchainsnypodcast at gmail.com. That's offthemeatratchainsnypodcast at gmail.com. That way we'll be able to read your thoughts and talks on the air on what you thought about the topics, what are your reactions. That way we'll get an idea on how to make it even better and better every week. Now, our first topic has to do with the mental health, which is still Mental Health Awareness Month. I call it Mental Health Check-in for a reason. So, this has to do with a long word that I actually been hearing, and it's called microaggression. Now, what is microaggression, you ask? Microaggression is a subtle, often unintentional form prejudice. Of course, it includes rather than an overt declaration of racism, marginalized, or sexism, a microaggression often takes the shape of an offhand comment, an inadvertently painful joke, or a pointed insult. For example, a person might comment that an Asian American employee speaks English well. Another might ask where an American Indian student is from. A woman may cross the street when she sees an African American man walking towards her at night. These individuals may not have intended to offend anyone, but the comment or action still reminds the person who receives the microaggression that they are not fully accepted or trusted in their community. People are often well intentioned and they want to consciously promote equality, but unconsciously they may act differently. So we go to the roots of the microaggressions. The term was coined by Howard Medical School psychologist Chester Pierce in the 1970s to describe the subtle insults he witnessed between white students and African American students. The work of Jack DeVito and Samuel Garther also added to the idea. The term had a resurgence in 2007 when teachers, college Columbia University psychologist Daryl Wing Sue began to popularize the idea through his writing. Since then, the construct was, has sparred tremendous conversation, research, and debate. What are some examples of microaggressions, you ask? In the workplace, being asked to run and get coffee sounds cliche, but this actually does happen. The target can be a person of color, female, LGBTQ, or other marginalized people. Another good example is assuming that an older employee is incapable of managing technology and lacks versatility with new tools. The workplace can be riff with slights and snubs directed at people who appear different. Um, okay. Is subtle bias harmless? Sometimes a microaggression may appear to be a compliment. You speak English very well. They are seemingly innocuous and nothing to fret over. However, microaggressions carry demeaning meta communications, whereby the messages are hidden and the targets of such concealed missives feel on edge as well as under scrutiny. This can create an environment filled with distrust, hostility, and validation, and it can also mean lost productivity, ill health, and overall inequality. Which groups tend to be targeted by microaggressions, you ask? According to Daryl Wing Sue, any group in society may become targeted, including women, people of different gender identities, those with disabilities, religious minorities, among others. For example, a forthright white woman might be labeled a bitch. Oh man, just because she's exercises assertiveness. Um, is the idea of microaggressions controversial? The concept of microaggression has its share of critics. Some argue that the idea has not occurred enough empirical evidence and research does suggest that core premises of microaggressions and their connection to poor mental health do not have sufficient evidence, such as the most marginalized communities perceive microaggressions to be harmful or that subjective reports are reliable enough to study. Oh boy. Why do people feel the concept of microaggressions is not valid, you ask? Some people argue that microaggressions foster a culture of psychological fragility and victimhood. If one believes that microaggressions and verbal statements are psychologically and even physically harmful and therefore avoids them, the person's emotional strength may diminish. There is an assumption of ill will that could prevent the free flow of dialogue in settings from academia to psychotherapy. Parsing our microaggressions. Even if researchers and experts argue over the existence of microaggressions, this cannot erase the emergence and popularization of the concept which underscores the importance of recognizing, defining, and studying the impact of subtle racism on those in marginalized communities. Oh boy. So, okay, why is guilt a factor in microaggressions? Um, People experience guilt when racism is brought to the fore. Who wouldn't feel guilty that large groups are marginalized? A person can feel guilty when he is born with certain advantages, and he can try to deny this truth by evading it. Remaining blind and indifferent might um ameliorate guilt, even though it may be healthier to acknowledge those privileges, educate himself, and change his behavior. Hmm. Do bullies use microaggressions to get what they want? Let's take a look. Some bullies intimidate others through covert behaviors, making interactions hard to detect. In the workplace, a bully may leave others out of important meeting. This omission may affect the decision making process. Such a move can also no, excuse me, maintain a monoculture within the workplace, ensuring the bully's control over other points of view. The word aggression is highlighted here as bullies are inherently aggressive. How can we be less microaggressive, you ask? Just being aware of microaggressions is a start. We live in a society that has inherited and promotes bias against people who are different. To be more conscious of microaggressions and avoid having them, one can explore their biases, reflect on the connotations a remark might have, review common interactions, and engage with people from different communities. How do I become aware of my microaggressions, you ask? If you were called out for being microaggressive, here are some guides to handle the situation. We can all learn a lot about subtle biases that you may not be aware of. The person who called you out cares enough to say something. Being defensive will not help, and virtual signaling will not either. Apologize for the bias and explain that you want to understand better. Listen with empathy and compassion. Well, there you have it. There you have it. These are your lessons of the day on what you can do to be less microaggressive. Now, I do want to go here. I always wanted to talk about this. So recently, there's been there's been a shooting in Times Square. Um, Basically, so they arrested a shooter. So I have an article according to the New York Times. So here we go. So the Times Square shooting suspect arrested in Florida. The police said Farrakhan Muhammad, to be exact, opened fire during an argument with his brother, shooting bystanders, including a 4-year-old girl. A 4-day search for a man wanted in a weekend shooting in Times Square that injured 2 women and a 4-year-old Brooklyn girl ended on Wednesday when the suspect was arrested in Florida, the police said. The man Farrakhan Muhammad is 31 years of age, was taken into custody by federal marshals at a McDonald's in Stark, Florida, near Jacksonville, where he was eating lunch in a car, police said. He was awaiting extraction to New York. The broad daylight shooting on Saturday, which was recently, in the middle of one of the city's best known tourism and transit hubs, came amid a spike in gun violence that has unnerved New Yorkers amid the city's efforts to bounce back from the coronavirus pandemic. The episode thrust public safety to the forefront of the city's mayoral race and focused attention on the police department, which has struggled to keep pace with the rise in shootings. The authorities quickly mounted an intense manhunt for Mr. Muhammad that included city and state police and federal marshals all down the East Coast. It's a daylight shooting, James W. Esick, the chief of detectives, said at a news conference where he praised the detectives who worked on the case. Times Square, thousands of hours of video canvassing to the viewed witnesses to be interviewed. The eyes of the world were on them. Investigators got a break in the case on Tuesday when Mr. Muhammad, who was traveling with his girlfriend, was caught on video stopping at a Walmart in Fayetteville, North Carolina, for supplies and food for the couple's two dogs, who were also in the car. Police officials said at the news conference Mr. Muhammad's girlfriend was questioned by the police, who did not release her name. Once he started going through North Carolina, we knew he was headed to Florida, Chief Issy said. Investigators had not recovered the gun used in the shooting or determined a motive, he added. The police said Mr. Muhammad had been identified by his brother as the gunman and opened fired as the two sibling sidewalk CD peddlers argued near West 44th Street and 7th Avenue. The shots missed their target and struck a 4-year-old who was in a stroller with her family as they stopped for toys, and two others. Videos recorded by bystanders showed officers running to the bustling intersection after the shooting as crowds swelled out the door corners, and later a female officer identified as Alyssa Vogel sprinting towards an ambulance with the girl in her arms. The girl underwent surgery at Bellevue Hospital. Wow. The other victims were a 42-year-old woman from New Jersey who was shot in the foot, and a 23-year-old woman visiting from Rhode Island for Mother's Day who was shot in the leg, officials said. The three victims, none of those injuries were life-threatening, did not know one another, officials said. The New Jersey woman, Marcella Aldana of Passaic, said in an interview on Wednesday that she and her 16-year-old daughter, Janet, were lined up outside a store wanting to buy K-pop merchandise when she heard two shots ring out. Miss Aldana, speaking in Spanish, said the two had dropped to the ground as the shooting continued. It was really terrifying, said Miss Aldana, who immigrated to the United States from Morelos, Mexico, and has a job packing tea bags. She added, everyone was running and screaming. Yeah, I would too. I would too if I heard shots. She said her foot was still swollen, but that she was taking medication and feeling better. After the shooting, the police said Mr. Muhammad went back to a hotel room on West 42nd Street, where he was staying with his girlfriend. Police identified him as the suspect that evening after speaking with his brother. By then, though, Mr. Muhammad had changed his clothes, shaved his head, and left the hotel, chief said. Charges had not been filed as of Wednesday afternoon against Mr. Muhammad, who has passed arrest for threats and violence, but police classified the shooting as an assault. In a sign of the episode's political resonance, Andrew Yang and Eric Adams, two of the leading mayoral candidates, gave separate news conferences the next day at the site at an area of the city whose return to um, vitality will be crucial to New York's broader recovery. Hold on, folks. All right, just bear with me. Mr. Adams, the Brooklyn borough president and a former police captain, condemned the shooting and pointed to it as evidence that justified his focus on public safety as a significant issue for New York voters. Mr. Yang, a former technology entrepreneur, echoed that message. Like Mr. Adams, he has positioned himself as a candidate who does not embrace the defund the police movement. I wouldn't either, too. Hold on. Let me say something about this. I'm not really a typical person who's taking sides. Yes, there's a right and a wrong when it comes to abusive of power, when it comes to renegade cops, aka rotten sour apples. So, you know what I'm saying? As far as defunding the police, I don't even think that's gonna really solve all these problems. I feel as if that it's going to make matters worse and it's going to be more crimes. I mean, what happens to our women and they are being victimized for sex trafficking, rape. I mean, violent abuse. You just name it. It's like who are you gonna call if you're gonna take away money from the cops department? I get the fact that the training is a little out of hand, but at the same time is almost as if like there's certain situations um that can't I'm not justifying what they did. So just hear me out here. So this is about accountability, right? If you want accountability, it's going to take some time. It's not going to happen overnight. It'll take, even if it takes years, so be it. I would much rather not have things rushed over trying to, trying to get justice. But there's a difference between accountability and getting justice. Accountability means you're basically holding somebody responsible for what they did. Justice, on the other hand, is usually putting the right criminals to prison or jail. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to actually share my thoughts on the whole defund police thing. Pretty much sounds like a bad idea to me. So So hang on a second, folks. Let me just click on something. Um, all right. All right, where did I leave off? All right. Other candidates made similar appearances over the next few days to promote their own plans for tackling crime and the surge in shootings. As of May 9th, 505 people had been shot in New York City this year. Damn, son. As of May, yeah, that's crazy this year. According to the police department statistics, the most through that date in any year since 2010. Mayor Bill de Blasio condemned the shooting and announced that the police department would increase patrols in Times Square. Rodney K. Harrison, the chief of department, said on Wednesday that police would be homing in on an aggressive soliciting and making sure that vendors stay in designated activity zones. However, he added officers will not be returning to enforce street vendors laws, a role that the Department of Consumer Affairs took over last year amid protests over police brutality and overly aggressive enforcement. All right. This is something that we already took a look at, and we're working with City Hall to see if this is something that needs to be addressed, he said. Wendy Marginet, the Rhode Island woman who was wounded in the shooting, would not be reached on Wednesday. Miss Marginet, who was visiting New York with her husband and 2-year-old child, previously told WNBC TV that she had been outside a store near the intersection of 7th Avenue and 45th Street when she heard a scuffle just before 5 p.m. Saturday and suggested that they move away. At the same point, I told him that the shots fired. She told the television station, I walked a little bit and I started screaming, asking for help. Miss Marginet said the bullet that hit her in the leg would probably remain there for the rest of her life. The doctors who treated her said that removing it could do more damage, she said. Jeez Louise. As for the 4-year-old, Officer Vogel told WNBC that the girl was extremely calm considering she had just been shot. I think her being so calm is why officers were able to get her the help she needed so quickly, Officer Vogel said. Miss Aldana praised the police for making an arrest within several days. She said she had never expected such a thing to happen in New York. I didn't think someone would do something like that, she said. There are police there watching over people. I felt safe, but it seems like things are out of control. I gotta agree. It is pretty crazy. It is pretty crazy. I will say this. Um um I do want to talk about something actually. Um Times, just give me a second. Actually, give me a second. Asian woman punched in Queens, New York. Okay. So I did wanted to talk about this actually as I was watching TV earlier, and this was about an elderly woman who was punched in the face in Corona, Queens. So article goes like this. A 75-year-old woman was socked in the face and left with a broken nose um, in Queens, which they said is Corona Queens, by the way, early today, police sources said. The elderly victim was walking on 57th Avenue near 97th Place in Corona at 3 a.m. when a man suddenly slugged her, the sources said. She was taken to Elmhurst Hospital with a broken nose and has since been treated and released, according to sources. Yeah, sorry about that recording. I'm gonna have to redo that. I'm gonna have to redo that sound effect. So don't worry about that. Yeah. It was unclear whether the assault was being considered a hate crime. The motive was not known. Sources on Thursday also gave details on an alleged hate crime incident from May 19th. A 24-year-old man was inside the 34th Street Herald Square station when a male stranger snarled or gnarled. "You are Chinese, aren't you? Give me your give me your shit. This is black people territory. I will slit your throat," the sources said. Oh my goodness. The incident came amid a recent surge in an anti-Asian violence across the Big Apple and beyond. Mayor Bill de Blasio announced in a Thursday press conference that the city would be making a $3 million investment in community organizations to combat hate, but didn't offer additional details. 3 million, eh? Yeah, that's a lot of money though. Anyway, we need to redouble our efforts to combat hate, the mayor said. Fighting hatred, these hatred and bias crimes goes against everything we are as New Yorkers. Hatred has no place here. We can't just do it with policing, he said. We need to do it with communities and partners on the ground. I I actually agree with this. I actually agree with this though, man. I mean, hate conquering hate is not really going to really help anybody. It ain't gonna help nobody. So anyway, on to the next one. And this has to do with a recent interview that Dr. Umar Johnson did on the Breakfast Club. And when asked about the whole situation, when asked about why is he against you know why is he against interracial dating? Oh boy. I have to really let you now. Hold on a minute here. I do have an article right here. So let me see. So let me see. All right. Got it. So let me just read this article here. So, school psychologist Dr. Umar Johnson directed harsh criticism at President Joe Biden during an interview of the Breakfast Club that aired on Monday morning, alleging Biden hasn't taken explicit action to protect Black Americans from police genocide, even after Black voters propelled him to victory in the 2020 election. Johnson didn't hold back punches against Black elected officials and the Congressional Black Caucus. Johnson, the self-styled prince of Pan-Africanism, said during an interview with Charlemagne the God and DJ Envy that Biden has made members of the transgender community and Asian Americans priorities during the first 100 days in office, while failing to act to protect Black Americans. President Biden, your first day in office, you signed an executive order to protect the life and safety of transgenders. I have no problem with that, he said. On the first day in office, Biden issued an executive order that outlines the interpretation of a 2020 Supreme Court ruling that gay and transgender employees are protected by Title what is this? What is it? 7 of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which outlaws discrimination on the basis of sex. The act provides the civil penalties for those who discriminate against the classes enumerated in the statute. Children should be able to learn without worrying about whether they will be denied access to the restroom, the locker room, or school sports. Oh boy. Let me see. But he sat up there with you, Charlemagne Johnson said in a reference to Biden, and told Black people that if you don't vote for me, you ain't Black. Yeah, we heard that many times. So if you went out of your way begging Black people to vote for you, why haven't we got an executive order or any other activity coming out of the Oval Office from President Biden to protect Black people from police? Biden told Charlemagne during the May 2020 appearance on the show, if you have a problem figuring out blah, 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 I'm not even going to really get into that. Johnson pointed out that police-involved killings of Black people have made national headlines recently. In just a week since former Minneapolis officer Derek Chauvin was convicted of second-degree intentional murder, second-degree manslaughter, and third-degree murder of the death of George Floyd, news of several police-involved shootings, including that of the Michaela Bryant, which we spoke about episodes ago. Anthony Thompson Jr. and Andrew Brown Jr. have sparked outrage. Johnson then noted that Biden had also taken explicit action to protect Asian Americans from a recent uptick in hate crimes against them. Look at what he's doing with the anti-Asian hate, Johnson said. He signed an executive order that is exclusive to Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. I don't have a problem with that. But if you can protect the Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders from violence, why can't you do the same for Black people? A memorandum signed by Biden in January condemned violence against Asian and Pacific Islanders in particular, although it's not clear in what sense the president's stroke of a pen protects them. Okay. The federal government should combat racist xenophobia and intolerance against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, and should work to ensure that all members of AAPI communities, no matter their background, the language they speak, or their religious beliefs, are treated with dignity and equity, the statement said. Okay. There's certain points that I do agree on, but the one part that I don't agree with, which you probably have not heard, when he was asked about the whole interracial marriage, I want y'all to listen to this, and y'all tell me what you think. Now, hold on a minute. If you don't believe me, sure. Now, hold on a minute. Let me go back to the beginning here. I want y'all to hear this. This really pissed a lot of people off, though, especially with the whole interracial dating thing. So I want y'all to actually, I want your thoughts on this. So I'm gonna play this right now.
Cut it out, Envy. Don't do that, Envy. I'm going to have a serious conversation. We have a name for it. We have a name for it. Okay. The Snow Bunny Crisis. Okay. I'm against the Snow Bunny Crisis. And I want your white listeners to understand. Because people be trying to say stuff like, he's the Black Hitler. I'm not the Black Hitler. I am in no way interested in hurting or harming the life of any human. White, Asian, Chinese. I believe in respecting everybody. Mm-hmm. The reason I'm against interracial marriage, Envy and Charlemagne, is because marriage is an economic contract. It's an economic contract. Most women do not marry down in status. They marry up. And if you don't believe me, show me a rich white woman married to a broke-ass black man. Have you ever seen a rich white woman marry a broke-ass black man? No, you have not, and you never will. Because marriage ain't about love, it's not colorblind, and it is totally economic. So if marriage is an economic unification and a contract, how can we, who don't have enough already, give so much to the white woman and to white people who have already taken too much when we got all these black women out here who will never get married? Only 1 out of every 4 black women in America will ever taste marriage. And half of them who taste marriage will be divorced within 5 years. If you want to save the black family, if you want to save the black family, you have to protect it. And
all right, I'm not gonna play all this and stuff, but I do agree on certain things that he talked about in terms of, policing and stuff like that. But as far as interracial marriages and stuff like that, let me tell you something, man. Dr. Umar, motherfucker, who wants to dictate who people should marry. Let me tell you something, man. Love has no skin complexion. Let people marry who they wanna fucking marry. Love is love. And as far as I'm concerned, like yes, marriage is a contract. Yes, I do agree with that one. But as far as like telling people who they should actually be around, as far as a white woman dating a broke black person or whatever case scenario may be, listen, it's not your choice to make. It's on them. Let them be around somebody who they could relate. This is not the 1970s. And I'm just gonna digress on this right there, man, before I even get a little upset. So this right here is a lesson right here, though, right here. If you are interested in somebody, it doesn't matter what their skin complexion is or ethnicity. It's a matter of personality and what's on the inside, not what's on the outside. And I say this from the bottom of my heart and soul. And a little bit of this. So on the reality is, there's some things that people agree with, and there's other things that other people don't agree with Dr. Umar. But as far as interracial dating, he's definitely wrong on this one. So on to the next one. This story really got me surprised, though. As far as this story really got me. This story really got me. So TikTok massive bash broken up by cops with tear gas. Really? Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Am I hearing this? Massive bash broken up by cops with tear gas? Are you serious? Tear gas? Really though? That's crazy and scary. All right, let's read this, man. TikTok can draw a crowd for sure, much to the dismay of Huntington Beach residents. An estimated thousand people swarmed the beachside community Saturday night, and police broke up the bash that was called Adrian's Kickback. What? Adrian's Kickback. Oh man. Anyway, the party was advised to TikTok and went viral with users all over the country chiming in on the possible bash. The viral vids clearly did the trick, with hordes of people filing the so-called beach and streets. The crowd started to form at around 6:30 p.m. and things got rowdy pretty quickly. By 7:30, it was going full bore, and then the fireworks started going off. By around 11:30 p.m., cops made their move, declaring the event an unlawful assembly. Hold that thought. Okay. All right. Police used tear gas to break up the crowd. It was pretty much pure pandemonium as everyone started yelling as they either ran away or ran for cover. At 11:30 p.m., the city imposed a curfew that lasted until 5:30 a.m. Sunday. As for Adrian, his name is Adrian Lopez, and the celebration marked his birthday. All he said on TikTok was pop out and celebrate my baby. Oh no, excuse me. My B day, which is birthday. That's short for birthday, folks. That's all it took. 121 adults and 28 juveniles were arrested and booked for various charges, including vandalism, the firing of dangerous illegal fireworks, failure to disperse, and curfew violations. Well, okay, that sounds like a bad idea. Now, it's one thing to celebrate a birthday party, right? A birthday, and you want to be able to celebrate by being outdoors and stuff like that. But at the same time, I think you have to really be careful on how much people you try to invite. As far as anything goes, the protocols and stuff like that, like you just name it, man. I feel like that sometimes there's gonna be people that are careless, and there's gonna be people that are going to be, knuckleheads and not really know what's really going on. So this really kind of hit me. I didn't think this is gonna really gonna be the story that I was gonna pick, but unfortunately, um, I try to steer away from certain subjects that's not really my place and area of expertise. So, although I would like to say, there's another story that I wanted to do, and this was involving the Times Square slashing. Give me 1 second, folks. Okay. So, surveillance footage released of suspect in Times Square subway slashing. Here we go again. This has got to be crazy. Hold on a second. Um, hold on. Okay, here we go. So, cops released surveillance footage early Thursday, which was recently, of the suspect who allegedly slashed a 35-year-old woman in Times Square subway station. Okay, that's scary, man. That's really scary for somebody to go through this, and you wonder why. You wonder why sometimes people are a little hesitant to be taking the trains because shit like this gets worse. And I'm not even gonna hold you. This is not really that's not cool, man. You know what I mean? That's just not cool at all. Anyway, the 35-year-old victim was sitting on a bench at the southbound 1, 2, and 3 train platform around 8:50 when a man joined by a woman approached and started speaking to him, police said. The victim took out his earbuds and asked, "Are you talking to me?" Police said. The suspect then spat on the victim and slashed him on the side of his face with a scalpel, causing a severe cut, according to authorities. Oh boy. This is unbelievable, man. Unfucking believable. Why? Look, I don't. I'll get to my remarks in a second. The suspect, okay, I did read that part. The victim was taken to Mount Sinai Hospital in stable condition. The attacker took off and he is shown on surveillance footage walking with the woman through the station. Um, the suspect is described as in his 20s and around 6 feet tall. The incident came more than an hour after a female train service operator was pushed and punched in the same station without provocation, cops said. This is why subway trains, and this is why sometimes people are very hesitant. And I said this before. People are very hesitant because because of the fact that a lot of times subway trains they're not safe along with the stations due to crime and harassment. Like you can't look, it's one thing to base on stats, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that it's gonna stop right away. Now, like I previously just talked about just now with the Times Square shooting, and now you're hearing about the Times Square subway station slashing again. Look, I'm gonna tell you like this though. I'm gonna tell you like this. Um, if you're gonna go out to the city, I suggest you be careful and be aware of your surroundings, and also, make sure that um you you are aware of where you're going and what street you're on. Not to say to I'm not saying live in fear, people. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is just be safe and be wise of the decisions that you are going to make. That's what I'm saying. Let me see. I think I'm going to actually, you know, call this a day with the episode. But I do want to give a TV suggestion. I have not done TV show checkouts in a minute. So why don't we go to TV show checkouts, shall we? So TV show checkouts is basically a segment where we actually you know you know recommend some TV shows for you to check out. Um like for instance, you have you have a show that's coming out soon enough in the fourth season of Beat Shazam. Now, I do want to actually let's read this. Beat Shazam is an American television musical game show which premiered on Fox on May 25th, 2017, which was um about which was about 4 years ago. The show is hosted by Jamie Foxx, who is also an executive producer on the show along with Jeff Aploff, who created the show with Wes Calabo, Mark Bennett, Rich Riley, Lauren Zelenik, and Barry Posnick. So, all right, on July 12th, 2017, Fox renewed the series for a second season, which premiered on May 29th, 2018. On August 21st, 2018, Fox renewed the series for its third season that premiered on May 20th, 2019. On January 31st, 2020, the series was renewed for a fourth season, which was originally going to premiere in 2020, but due to the COVID pandemic, it was set to premiere on June 3rd, 2021. So, congratulations to Jamie Foxx on the fourth season of Beat Shazam. And let's ask something like this. Now that's very lit that it got renewed. So that's gonna be my TV show recommendation for you to check out. Now, for the most part, all right, so that's gonna do it for this show today. Now, before we wrap up, I would like to go over some streaming platforms on the go where you can listen to previous recorded episodes that you missed and including the one on YouTube. So, here we go. You can subscribe to Off the Meatrack Chainz New York podcast on Podorama, Anchor, Spotify, Audio Burst, Deezer, TuneIn, Player FM, Podchaser, and be sure to go on Podchaser and leave us a 5-star rating and show some love on there. Now hold on before I continue with the rest. If you like what you heard today on this show, show some love by making a donation to support the show.
by going to the link tree /GMoneyStacks555. Click on the section where it says support the podcast to make a donation, and it's going to take you to a section where you can use debit cards. Another way you can support the podcast is by my Cash App, which is $GMoneyStacks555. That's $GMoneyStackz 555. Now, we're not asking you to break the bank to make us happy. All we're simply asking is for you to do your best on what you can afford. Now, as I left off with the streaming platforms on to go, so okay, Podchaser I mentioned, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Podcast Addict. Of course, I'll get to Podorama, Anchor, Spotify, Audio Burst, Deezer, TuneIn, Player FM, Podchaser, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Podcast Addict, Breaker, Listen Notes, Google Podcasts. Don't forget to listen to Off the Meatrack Chainz New York podcast on Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and last but not least, the YouTube. All you gotta do is your part by subscribing to my YouTube channel, GMoneyStacks555. Be sure to click the notification bell so you can be notified on more video content, upcoming episodes, when the show goes on the air live, previous recorded episodes. Be sure to leave a like, comment on the episodes with the topics that's been discussed, alongside with downloading your favorite episodes that you like. Now, don't forget to download, and don't forget to share the show with your friends, along with your friends with the audio streaming platforms. So with that being said, I would like to say thank you for tuning in and watching and rocking with me, since I'm the host holding the fort down. So hopefully I will get B Live back though. Don't worry. I will get him back. I just have to really sort things out, and I will talk about my slump and my bumps and bruises in the next episode. So, speaking of that, you can find me on the gram, which is GMoneyStacks555. Click the excuse me. You can find me there, along with Off the Meatrack Chainz NY podcast on Facebook and Instagram, alongside with my primary handle, which is GMoneyStacks555 in Queens, New York. And also I want y'all to follow my other podcast page, which is Music Movie TV Juice Podcast on Instagram. Don't forget to follow that as well, because I will be trying to pick some people to co-host with me for that show. So hopefully we'll be able to start the recording around the week of the 4th of July. So stay tuned for more details on that. I will post some details on what day it's going to happen. So I don't have a definite date, so just stay tuned for that one. And like as I said, G Money Stacks 555 in Queens, New York, alongside with Music Movie TV Juice Podcast and Off the Meatrack Chainz NY Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. So, like I said, man, like I always say before the end of the show, if you have a dream on what you want to do, whether it's being a podcaster, host like myself who wants to create a show, or any other career fields that'll make you happy, um, don't let any clown burger stop you from doing your thing. Because at the end of the day, you you can't please people. You can't please hypersensitive people. No matter how hard you try to do the right thing, you're always gonna get criticized. But sometimes you have to ask yourself this question: who are you doing the right thing for? Are you doing it for you, your parents, or other people? That part, I had to really, think this over so I could actually, realize that, the only person that you have to please is yourself. And you know what? With that being said, um, another thing I want to say too is, um, even though you have some people who may not understand my personality and my intentions, as far as, you know me asking people how they're doing, mentally, physically, spiritually. And the reason I've been asking this is because, it's to show that I care about people. This is not something that was made to be a joke. And this is me as a human being showing that I care. Because if I didn't, I would have been called an asshole a long time ago, which I'm not an asshole. I know I know my I know myself, actually. And it took me a long time for me to understand myself. So anyway, so like I said, I would like to say thank you, along with the listeners, the current listeners, the new listeners. Thank you for rocking with us. And I did look on Anchor that we have over 700 plays so far. So let's keep it going, along with the subscribers on YouTube goes up. Let's keep the views going. I'm G Money Stacks. I'm clocking out. Peace and one love.